Up now, we have Forum Daily's market update with Catherine Murray, host of the Buck Stops Here. All yours, Catherine.
Thanks, Seema. Hello, everyone, and welcome to your weekly market recap. I'm Catherine Murray. Well, what a week it has been. We are seeing markets rally significantly today. The Nasdaq's up by close to 6%, the Dow up by 2.5%, S&P 4%, and the TSX up by over 3% as well. We'll see where the markets end, but nonetheless, a very, very sharp rally today on the back of lower than expected CPI, or lower than expected inflation in the United States, which is really causing investors to believe that the US Federal Reserve might be able to slow down the pace of tightening or raising rates to the point where the expectations are now that perhaps they'll only raise by about 50 basis points in December and have the terminal rate perhaps a little bit lower. So the end point from an interest rate perspective might be a little bit lower. That is putting less pressure on those high multiple and reopening stocks. So in other words, you're seeing the biggest rally in tech today, followed by semis and retail stocks. Reopening trades also performing very, very well. So bottom line, very much a risk-on day today. Importantly as well, when we think about the midterm elections, which were, of course, the big news this week, but obviously the CPI reading is overshadowing that. Many investors and strategists are out pointing out the fact that seasonality is also acting as a bit of a tailwind post midterm elections. Goldman Sachs says that between now and year end, if you look back over the past 90 years, you'll see returns of about 3%. So in other words, the market continues to move higher. And over 12 months, the returns are about 17%, again, following midterm elections, looking over the past 90 years. So a number of potential tailwinds. At the same time, though, we've, of course, heard continuously from corporate earnings results that that margins are under pressure. Supply chains are certainly still a real factor. Inflation is also acting as a headwind, as is that very, very strong U.S. dollar. So not to ignore those facts that are also, still out there and still presenting a bit of macro uncertainty. But for today, it's very much a risk-on day. As we look at the TSX, as I mentioned, it is up by about 3%. The Canadian dollar is sharply higher versus the US dollar. WTI is up by about 1.2%, and all sectors on the TSX are up strongly. Interestingly as well, though, I would point out that inflation has certainly impacted many Canadians, as we know. Stats Canada is out saying that insolvencies are up by about 22.5% in the third quarter. That's the biggest jump that we've seen in 13 years. We're also seeing corporate results, earnings results here in Canada. Just a couple to highlight. BAM, or Brookfield Asset Management, came in with stronger results, both on the revenue and earnings front, setting that stock up by about 6%. Canadian Tire did come in with disappointing earnings results. Profit was down by about 20%. Costs are higher, and the consumer seems to be retreating a little bit, setting their results again on the disappointing front. Stock down by about 3%. And we're also watching Linamar. Those results came in better than expected, and that stock is up by 8%. Lastly, I just want to point out from a news perspective, again, we had the midterm elections this week, inflation coming in less than expected. I should say on the midterm front, it looks as though it will be a divided Congress, which historically is positive for stocks. That's obviously a big news item. But the other big news item, which I'll hit on tomorrow, is what's going on in the crypto world. One of the largest exchanges, FTX, looks to be on the brink of collapse. And their competitor, Binance, has said that they're going to be pulling out of looking to buy that company. That has sent a lot of volatility within the crypto space. It's a big, big story this week. We'll see what happens, but I'll address it tomorrow. So those are your three big items this week from a market perspective. Nima, I'll leave it there. Back to you.
All right, thanks for that, Catherine. Again, that was Catherine Murray, host of the Buck Stops Here, which airs on Sundays at 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, it looks like the cryptocurrency prices plunged before rising again today amid U.S. inflation readings. The plunge came after crypto exchange Binance announced that it was pulling out of a deal to purchase failing rival FTX Trading. The CEOs of the two exchanges had publicly agreed to a merger on Tuesday, pending due diligence on FTX's balance sheet. Now, that review apparently led to significant concerns for Binance, which then led it to back out of the deal. Meanwhile, the Canadian oil sands industry is scheduled to make a presentation at the COP27 climate conference in Egypt this week. The Pathways Alliance is a consortium of Canada's largest oil sands companies. It is preparing to show just how far the industry has come in terms of its willingness to be a full-fledged partner in the fight against climate change. However, environmentalists have expressed their frustration over the oil and gas sector's presence at the event. We'll be right back. Stay with us.